Tonight on a Local Live, the Community Drug Summit uncovers the current crisis.
Relay for Life is right around the corner. Find out how you can join to help save lives.
A tragic death in our community. A Harrison family is asking for help to cover funeral expenses following a suicide.
And on tonight's roundtable, we'll be exploring the obstacles women face in gaining access to health care.
Good evening, everyone. It's Thursday, May 11th. I'm Rob Baez.
And I'm Alexandria Garcia. Welcome to Local Live. We have a lot in store for you tonight, so let's get started.
A Harrison resident from Guatemala, Rosanda Cifuentes, was found dead at Beaver Swamp Saturday night. Harrison police said that this was a suicide. Cifuentes was 54 years old and is survived by her husband and 3 children. Her son, Marvin De Leon Cifuentes, a senior at Purchase College, created the GoFundMe page, Funeral for Rosanda Cifuentes. The page raised around $5,500 in one day, but more help is welcome. So for those who know the family, there will be a service at Harrison Funeral Home at 329 Halstead Avenue this Friday from 4 to 8 p.m. If you or someone you know suffers from depression or have suicidal thoughts, make sure to call the suicide hotline at 1-800-273-8255.
Westchester's drug-related death rate ranks 4th highest among New York State's largest counties, and it has more than doubled in the last 7 years. Last night, Larchmont Mamaronix's Radar, along with Mayor Rosenblum's Drug Committee, the local summit, and the League of Women Voters hosted to host a presentation for parents on how to navigate the drug crisis facing our community. Susan and Steve Solomon share the tragic story of their son Justin's lifelong struggle with opioids and how it can happen to anyone.
He was making poor life choices. He was using Percocet. So we're thinking, well, Percocet, that's a prescription medication. We didn't even know how addictive it was. And from that point, his life pretty much spiraled out of control. He started shooting heroin. We kicked him out of the house. And from 25 to 29, my son battled for his life. He would have 5 months clean, and he would go out and use again. October 2011, the weekend that we had that terrible snowstorm in October, if anyone remembers it, my son OD'd and sustained a major brain injury. He went into a place called Search for Change, which is transitional housing for people with mental illness and substance use. And within 2 weeks, he OD'd and died.
In his address, Mayor Rosenblum urged community members to be vocal about this issue with friends and family and assured parents that this is a crisis we are tackling. This year's county budget includes about $50 million for education and opioid addiction. So if you know someone in the community who is struggling, they're not alone. For more information about local resources, go to lmradar.org, and you can find a video of the full presentation at lmctv.org.
The Village of Mamaroneck adopted its $35 million budget for the fiscal year of 2017 to 2018 on April 24th. The budget came in just under the state tax cap by $8 and will go into effect on June 1st. More than 69% of the budget will go toward personal services and benefits, as the village has had to deal with increasing pension costs, especially since the recession in 2008. There will be salary increases for non-union personnel, and the village will budget for 1 new position in the village department. Due to a reduction in property tax revenue, there will also be increases in fees and permits, including field rentals and building permit fees.
At Monday's Village of Mamaroneck Board of Trustees meeting, Police Chief Christopher Leahy said the village's immigration policy has not changed and that no one should be afraid to contact the department to report a crime or incident. Police will not ask for immigration status in these cases.
We've reached out to the Community Resource Center on several occasions. We try to make everybody feel as comfortable as possible. That's what we want. There's no reason that anybody should ever be afraid to come speak to us. There are certain things that we have to do. If we're handed a warrant, we have to act on that. If we arrest somebody for a crime, they're fingerprinted. Their fingerprints are sent off to the feds, and they may flag somebody and come up with a warrant, and then we would have to act on that. But I'm not going to ask. My officers aren't going to ask what their status is. any victim that comes in, anybody that wants to report a crime, anybody in the need of, just in need, we're not going to ask what their status is.
Thank you.
So there may be time that we do act
Yeah.
or assist, but we're not going to initiate that.
Last week, the Mamaroneck Town Council unanimously awarded ELQ Industries of New Rochelle an almost $1 million contract for road resurfacing on 19 streets. The board was satisfied with the contractor's previous work and this year's bid, which included a $13 per ton reduction in the cost of asphalt. Residents on the affected roads will be notified before the work begins, which should be after schools are out for the summer.
Last Sunday night on 60 Minutes, 97-year-old Benjamin Ferenz shared a lifetime of wisdom about humans in conflict. He's an author and human rights activist, and he's the last surviving prosecutor from the Nuremberg war crimes trials. But 27 years ago, as a law professor at Pace University, he appeared right here on LMC TV, and he delivered much the same message. There's always a better way for nations to settle their differences. The choices are not to go to war or walk away from injustice.
You don't have to walk away. With the United States, we had this problem with the 13 states. They were 13 independent nations. They declared their independence, formed a federation. They set up a Supreme Court. New Jersey doesn't go to war against Delaware.
No.
If they have a dispute, they go to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court settles it, and they accept the settlement, and that's it. I'm not saying walk away from disputes. Settle them in a rational way. And by killing each other and killing everybody around you, it's not only killing yourselves. If the world leaders went out and killed themselves, as Grotius, the great international lawyer, said, it wouldn't be so bad. But they're going to kill me, they're going to kill you, and they're going to kill your children and my grandchildren. And there's something wrong with that kind of a system, and it's time to change it.
The full interview that was produced at LMC TV by Russell Harvey is now part of the Steven Spielberg Film and Video Archive of the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. It's also available online at lmctv.org.
Mamaroneck High School's underwater robotics team, the Tiger Sharks, took third place overall at this year's Marine Technology Society MATE New England Regional Rove Competition in Massachusetts. The MATE competition network, which stands for Marine Advanced Technology Education, began in 2001 and consists of 30 regional events across the U.S. and the world. So congratulations to the Tiger Sharks.
And also from MHS, one student team won big at the 3rd Annual Westchester County Mobile App Development Bowl, receiving the First Place Creativity Award. The contest is a joint initiative of Westchester County and Pace University. More than 440 students from local high schools and colleges competed to create mobile apps to improve the lives of the elderly. The Tigers had the most teams competing, a total of 13, and MHS computer science teacher Jagar Jadav was named High School Coach of the Year.
Now bringing us the online stories trending in the media, here is Jack Wells.
Playland is set to receive $60 million worth of improvements. Windstars, Revolution 32, and Unicoaster are the 3 new roller coasters set to be built by 2019. And don't worry, because it will remain open during the construction. Playland's opening day is set for May 15th for its 89th season. To learn more about the construction, visit the Daily Voice. This Saturday from 11 to 4, be sure to stop by the Murray Avenue Spring Fair. There will be a batting cage, petting zoo, go-karts, and more. Volunteers and raffles are needed. Check out the Murray Avenue School website for more information. Michael Rivers is a sanitation worker by day and a singer by night. Rivers, who is a Mamaroneck resident, is in the process of recording his 2nd studio album. Living in the village since 1978, Rivers is an MHS grad. Be on the lookout as Rivers is planning to release his next album sometime in October or November. Check out Rivers' complete story on the Daily Voice. 7 Westchester Democrats have proposed a bill that would raise the age limit countywide to buy tobacco from the minimum age nationally of 18 to 21. The amendment would also include electronic cigarettes as well as smoking-related paraphernalia. 10 other counties have already passed the bill. For more information on the proposed bill, visit the Mamaroneck Review. Former Mamaroneck resident Luis Ortiz has been extradited from Guatemala on sex abuse charges. The 49-year-old has been returned to Mamaroneck due to his failure to appear on the 1998 bench warrant. To learn more about the charges, visit the Patch. And that's it for this week's In the Media. I'm Jack Wells.
It's time for our local trivia. And then coming up on the roundtable, we'll be exploring the obstacles women face in gaining access to health care. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Roundtable. I'm Maura Carlin. Tonight we're combining Mother's Day, politics, and healthcare for a discussion about women's health issues. We invite you to join the conversation with your questions and comments. And as always, you can call, email, or tweet. The contact information's on your screen. And tonight you can also join on Facebook. Go to the LMC TV or the local live pages and put in your comments and questions there. With access to health care being discussed in Washington, questions have turned to women's issues. Will maternity continue to be an essential service that insurers must cover? What about birth control? Planned Parenthood? Our guests this evening are Dr. Deborah Kaplan, Assistant Commissioner of the Bureau of Maternal, Infant, and Reproductive Health for the New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, and Alyssa Miller, Director of Public Affairs for Planned Parenthood, Hudson-Peconic. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you so much.
Let's start with the broader question of why is women's health, women's reproductive health, such a heated issue?
You know, this has been an issue for a very long time, and it's such a key issue to raise now. I think it's complex. I think one of the big parts that started this is the issue of abortion and access to abortion. And one thing we're very lucky in New York State is that New York State has really championed access to safe, legal abortion as an essential right that women have. And in our country, we have that right. I think what has happened in this country, ever since abortion became legal in this country in 1973, there have been attacks on it. And while the attacks have been those of being supposedly right to life or for life, what in fact they've done is take this issue of abortion and broaden it even to be against contraception or women being able to make informed decisions about their lives. I think in the end, in some ways, it boils down to issues of women having control over their bodies, around women's seeing contraception and reproductive health as an essential part of women's lives. And one important thing to keep in mind is 99% of women of reproductive age who've had vaginal intercourse have used contraception at some point in their lives. If this was something that 99% of men did, I don't think we'd have a controversy at all.
And I'd like to echo those thoughts here. I think that women's health care has been tied to abortion since the decision in Roe v. Wade came down. And I think that part of the issue has been that we view it very much as a social issue within this country rather than as an economic issue and rather as a broad-based healthcare issue. I think once people start considering the fact that abortion is essential reproductive health care and that access to comprehensive contraception is an economic issue in that it's tied to the success of women all across the country, we can really start to change the discussion. But when it starts getting pushed into that social issue box, that's where we start to see these heated emotions and this rhetoric fly around that really does more damage than it does to help anything.
But some of the issues we're seeing in Washington aren't just about birth control and healthcare. As I said in the abortion, as I said in the intro, there's questions about whether insurers have to cover maternity, or whether other health issues for women, whether it's endometriosis or POS, polycystic ovary syndrome, whether those things are pre-existing conditions and covered. So it's isn't it bigger than just those two issues?
Absolutely. I mean, I think, and one thing, you know, that people lose sight of, even with a lot of attention has been on Planned Parenthood and attacks on Planned Parenthood. And we know at the federal level, this idea of defunding Planned Parenthood and focusing on any service that includes abortion. What gets lost is that while we agree that abortion and contraception are essential healthcare services, that is a small percent of what Planned Parenthood offers. And it's essential basic women's health care that is being threatened right now and is being attacked. So in addition to what you mentioned, we're talking about screening for cancer, Pap smears, screening for cervical cancer, breast cancer screening, blood pressure screening. For many women in this country, Planned Parenthood, they rely on for essential health care, basic primary care, not just abortion and contraception, which are essential. And so what we're talking about is attacks on basic fundamental reproductive health care and comprehensive primary care services, which is a part of what Planned Parenthood does.
Tell us exactly what services your Planned Parenthood Hudson-Peconic offer.
Yeah, so here at Planned Parenthood Hudson-Peconic, we actually cover 4 counties. We're here in Westchester County, Rockland, Putnam, and all the way out in Suffolk County. We have 10 different health centers, and we provide full comprehensive reproductive health care. We provide prenatal services. We're one of the few affiliates in this country that is able to provide prenatal services. And we're actually this year throwing baby showers for all of our prenatal patients, and we're really excited about that.
When you say prenatal, you mean during pregnancy or before pregnancy?
Our prenatal program is exactly like what you would see in any other prenatal pregnancy program. You have access to a nutritionist who helps advise on the best course for you and your child. We have, doctors, we have nurses, and you'd be anything that you would see walking into any other doctor's office. In addition, we also have breast cancer screenings. And I know that oftentimes, we get the fact that we don't perform mammograms thrown around, but just like any other qualified healthcare provider, you can come in if you feel a lump in your breast, you come in, you get screened, and then we refer out to a radiologist, which is exactly like your primary care physician is. And that's exactly what we are for many people. We are their primary care physician. They come to us for their annual pap smear. They come to us for breast cancer screenings, colposcopies, prenatal programs, STI testing and treatment, birth control in any forms. We offer all the ranges of FDA-approved birth control methods, which is something that not every place is able to do. We know that many of the clinics around New York cannot offer all the forms because they don't have the capacity, whereas this is what we do every day. We refer people for the specific type of birth control that fits with their lifestyle and their body. And that's what really separates us from any other provider, in that we live and breathe the most modern medicine for reproductive health care. And it doesn't matter who you are, where you are, or your socioeconomic status. The minute you walk through those doors, you're going to get the highest possible treatment that there is. And that's what makes us so special.
I think it's important to add here that, Planned Parenthood is a place, in many places that offer contraception, it's often for women an entry point to care. Mm-hmm. Many times they are not getting primary care, they're not going for ongoing care, but they're coming because, as virtually every woman who's sexually active is looking for contraception at some point in her life, and through that, she often is getting other key services that she needs.
So who goes to Planned Parenthood? Who are your typical clients, patients? I don't know which term you use.
Yeah, so I wouldn't necessarily say we have a typical patient that walks through our doors. We really treat everyone. We have people who are coming to us who are looking for advice, who are looking for medically accurate sex education. So we see teenagers, we see adults, we see people 35 to 60 years old. 52% of our patients within Planned Parenthood Hudson-Peconic are within the 20 to 29%, within the 20 to 29 year olds. And then a large number of our patients actually are Medicaid patients. And that's one thing I would like to very quickly dispel, is the whole defunding. Defunding is, quite frankly, it's a misnomer. What the Congress is seeking to do is to strip Planned Parenthood of the ability to treat Medicaid patients. And when we treat a Medicaid patient, we get reimbursed from the government just like anyone else. Planned Parenthood is not a line item in the budget. We do not receive a giant check from the government. What we do is we treat patients no matter what. And if they were to strip us of our Medicaid eligibility, we would be leaving over 50% of all of our patients without a care provider. We are a safety net provider here in this country. 54% of all Planned Parenthood health centers are in medically underserved areas, whether that's rural or there's a lack of professionals. And in areas where we've seen Planned Parenthood clinics close, we've seen direct impact on that community. I think we can point to Scott County, Indiana, where we saw a huge spike in the HIV rate, and that wasn't due to just one instance. That was due to the fact we're the only place you could get tested. And in the middle of an opioid epidemic, you would think that you would want more places who are doing screenings for HIV and then being able to help people get treatment.
Opponents of Planned Parenthood, since we're on that, say that Planned Parenthood is primarily an abortion provider. Is that true or not?
It is absolutely not true. We provide 3% of our services are abortion, and 97% of everything else we provide are full reproductive health care services. That being said, we are proud of the fact that we do provide safe and legal abortion in an environment that's compassionate for everyone who walks through. We're not ashamed of it, and nor are we going to bow to any pressure from anyone in DC, anyone in Albany who wants us to remove that service and that essential service from what we provide.
Well, government money doesn't pay for Planned Parenthood, abortions at Planned Parenthood, right? But what about counseling about abortions or alternative options to completing the pregnancy or taking pregnancy to term?
So under the Hyde Amendment, no federal Medicaid dollars can go to any abortion services. And that is from if they're choosing to receive counseling prior to the abortion, to their appointment, and then all the way through. However, anything else...
I'm sorry, could you say that again for me?
Yes. There are no federal Medicaid dollars that go to providing any abortion services.
Including counseling and...
Anything that is related to the abortion service. No Medicaid dollars. There is the whole phrase, money is fungible, but I can tell you unequivocally, it absolutely is not. Again, just like any other qualified Medicaid provider, we have to bill for the services rendered. Just like your doctor's office does, just like your orthodontist does. You have to go in and there's coding. Money is not fungible, nothing goes to it. Again, we're not ever going to change, we're not ever going to stop providing abortion care, but we are going to continually remind people that Medicaid, federal Medicaid dollars does not go to providing abortion services. That being said, New York State Medicaid has gone to and does allow women to get abortions on New York State Medicaid. And that is actually incredible because what that's done is it allows lower income women to access this essential
But does
service.
that money come from the federal government?
It does not.
No,
That is
it's
state.
only state funding.
I actually have to get to a question that was emailed in. Can both of you actually talk a little bit about the new health care bill passed in the House of Representatives and how it could have a negative effect on women's reproductive rights?
Absolutely. It's a horrific bill that eliminates many of the key protections for all people, and that includes people with what are considered pre-existing conditions. Well, pre-existing conditions that seem to be included in this bill include pregnancy, include the need for basic reproductive health services. There's no clear definition of what pre-existing conditions could be, and it's likely to exclude the very protections that the Affordable Care Act provided. What the Affordable Care Act is, besides providing basic health insurance to so many people who are uninsured, both men and women, all over the country who had serious conditions that without that care could have died without good care. And what will happen is that will happen again, is it made women's health care, reproductive health, maternity services, breastfeeding support, all essential basic preventive care services. That will all be threatened. And I want to add that even in addition to that bill, which is key to answer, and I know you want to answer to it too, other attacks than abortion have been on funding for something called Title X, which is federal funding for family planning. And I think we should be really clear that the very people who are attacking abortion are against contraception as well. They're against something that 99% of women who are sexually active use, and they are against it because they object to people being sexual and having sexual experiences. This is about something back to the dark ages, and I think people really need to understand that it's not about caring about life, because if it was about caring about life, we'd care about women's lives.
Agreed. And I do think that the fact that Title X is under attack cannot be stated enough. I know that every day there seems to be something new coming out from Washington, D.C., but Title X is the nation's only family planning grant, and that is essential. That ensures that anyone can get access to family planning, and Planned Parenthood actually provides a disproportionate amount of that Title X program. We make up only about 10% of Title X health centers, but we provide over 34% of all the services rendered. And so many of our patients rely on that every day. And with the executive order that rolled back the Obama-era rule, ensuring that no one could remove us from being Title X eligible, we are really concerned that you're going to see states across this country start to try and attack the Title X dollars. And with regards to the horrific piece of legislation that just passed, this bill will make it harder to prevent pregnancy, it makes it harder to have a healthy pregnancy, and it makes it harder to raise a family. And it's not just about women, this is about families. The fact that you're going to have 22 million people that are going to be kicked off of healthcare. We are going to have states with the option to impose work requirements on women right after they've been given birth. It gives states the ability to revoke Medicaid from women if they don't find a job within 60 days after giving birth. This will disproportionately affect women of color and low-income women. And the thing that we have to remember is 62% of all Medicaid enrollees are women. And so this is a direct assault on access to care for women and for single mothers, for working families. It's really done with intent to harm and not intent to do anything good.
This is an anti-family. This is anti-family, this type of bill that is against the very values that we value in this country around supporting people to exercise their human rights, to make informed decisions about their lives, about their bodies. This is fundamental to what we should be fighting for in this country, and that's not what this bill is about.
Well, from before, you were talking about Medicaid funding, and is this a socioeconomic issue, or will every family be affected by this?
It is. There is a fundamental link between reproductive health care, access to care, and economics. I do not think that can be overstated that access to birth control and the availability of birth control is one of the most important landmarks in women's health care in a generation. And the American Health Care Act, the ACA, was a landmark bill that made sure access was guaranteed for anyone no matter what. And the importance of affordable birth control cannot be overstated. We've seen many reports that say that the gains that women have made since 1965, whether it's in wage increases, college graduation rates, women in the workplace, pursuing careers, have been directly tied to the availability of oral contraception.
I wanted to bring up one other thing. At the New York City Health Department, we've been focusing on what we call a sexual and reproductive justice framework. It's about human rights.
Before you get to that, can we run the video? We have a little video
sure.
of the sexual reproductive justice, right?
Sexual and reproductive justice.
Right. If we could go to that videotape.
Sure.
What first brought me to reproductive justice wasn't my experience of having an abortion. It was actually my experience of giving birth. I was pregnant during law school and at the time was a Medicaid recipient. Decisions were made about me without my input. We would ask questions and people literally ignored us.
The first time that I had an abortion, I went into the waiting room and was so shocked to see another Asian woman in the room. If you're dealing with issues related to your reproductive health and you're not seeing your community or your stories reflected in that conversation, you're all alone.
Sexual reproductive justice, had I been exposed to it younger, could have changed the way I valued myself.
Deborah, tell us more about this.
Sure. This video was made, it's a 4.5-minute video. You can see it on our website, nyc.gov, and just search SRJ. It was developed with our community partners who formed something called the Community Engagement Group around sexual and reproductive justice. This came about through a history of women of color in the 1990s who looked at the issues around abortion and contraception and felt it wasn't speaking to the lives of women of color and the long history that we need to know about in this country that was sanctioned by government for many decades around reproductive oppression, and not long ago, dating back to slavery and forcing enslaved women to reproduce, but in addition, more recently with abuse, sterilization abuse, welfare benefits that penalized women who had more children. All of these are more recent developments. And so with this, women of color developed this reproductive justice framework that looks to women's right to choose whether or not to have children, but also the right to prevent pregnancy and to end a pregnancy. And what I was going to add around the issue of oral contraceptives is we now have a wide range of contraceptive options, from oral contraceptive pills to an injection to an IUD or a contraceptive implant. Without Planned Parenthood and other providers, without Medicaid, without Title X, women are not able to exercise that right. And it will mean that low-income women, and often women of color, aren't able to choose the method that best suits their lifestyle, what they want, because they do not have the resources. And so it's discriminatory in that way. Reproductive justice is also about the right to decide the conditions where you give birth and about bodily autonomy and raising children in a safe environment. And we think it's an important frame, especially in this time when there are so many attacks on women, that this is about overall right and access to care for all women, regardless of race or economic status.
But you do understand, let's say, a parent's concern about their teenage girl being put on birth control, and the parents, parental rights essentially being taken away from them. You're shaking your head like, no, you don't get that.
No, I totally agree. I raised two daughters. They are now adults, and the fact is, well, first of all, to say in New York State, and not all parents are happy about this, minors have the right to consent to comprehensive reproductive health services, including abortion, without parental permission. And the reason this is so important, if parental rights, we could say they should exist, but the reality is young people are having sex. They have always had sex. This is nothing new. They're having sex all over the world at young ages, at different ages, and I think the important piece of this is we need to teach our young people to know and understand their bodies, to know that they should not be pressured, that they need to only have sex if it's voluntary and they want to have sex. That said, this, without young people knowing about their own bodies and having comprehensive sex ed, because we should mention another piece that's under attack is comprehensive sex ed, and pushing what's called an abstinence-only approach, where we don't teach young people about contraception and preventing pregnancy. That doesn't mean young people don't have sex. It means that they are putting themselves at risk, not using contraception, at risk for sexually transmitted infections. And we think what we want, many parents who did not like the idea of their young people getting services without them knowing, when they found out that their young people were being responsible for going and using contraception, preventing sexually transmitted infections, once they fully understood that, often they were greatly relieved that the young person was getting good care and taking care of their bodies.
And we also try to encourage, one of the big things that we try to encourage is a healthy discussion. Being able to talk to your parent or your caregiver about your sexual health, your sexual identity, anything you may be thinking, is a huge part of being able to then lead a healthy sexual life and have healthy sexual habits. And so while I understand and while we understand the concerns of any parent when it comes to this in their child's life, we also encourage the parent to go to their children and to go to the young person and be open and have a frank and honest conversation. And we're here to be able to help facilitate those conversations. A lot of what we do in our education programs are provide these teen nights, which is a safe space for teens to come and ask questions to our health center staff, to our educator that maybe they don't feel comfortable asking at home. And one of the things that we always try and end with is the fact that you're safe here and you can ask us anything, but you also can ask your parents, and we also encourage you to ask your parents.
I think that's such an important point, because I think often, though, parents themselves haven't had the information and don't have access to knowledge and may want to have these conversations but don't feel prepared.
And we definitely...
And I think having that, and I know Planned Parenthood does this, making sure that information is available on our websites, that parents can go and get the information and not be ashamed to not know. And often one thing we like to share with parents is you don't need to know everything. Nowadays with Google and young people with their phones and it's like they can find out any information, but often they're getting incorrect information. Just being an askable parent, knowing, letting your young person know that they can come and ask you, and you can say, you know what, I don't know that. Let's find out together.
Well, opponents of abortion rights say women often use abortion as birth control. And I believe the city's own statistics say that most women who have abortions, it's not their first one.
That's
What's
correct.
going on with that?
So,
and do you understand that concern? That
I want to say here, and I know we both want to talk about this issue. So first of all, I want to first and foremost say women have the right to make informed decisions and have an abortion. And if that's their decision, we support it. And if women are having more than one abortion, often what that means is the lack of access to comprehensive family planning, which is why it's such an irony that the attacks on abortion are also attacks on contraception. And so I think one of the things we need to make sure is that we dispel the myths about contraception. Many people have misinformation about, for example, oral contraception, hormonal contraception, that it's dangerous, that it causes cancer. Oral contraceptives are very safe for most women, and if they can't use hormones, there are many other choices. I think we need to make sure that people have access to the information they need to make informed decisions. The issue isn't having too many abortions. The issue is about access and protecting people's rights to comprehensive services, including abortion.
Yes. I actually have some questions that I want to get to before we have to wrap it up. Many women don't want another C-section, but it's difficult to find providers supportive of VBACs, which are vaginal births after C-sections.
That's right.
What can you suggest for women seeking a VBAC?
Well, first of all, I would like to say that on the New York State Health Department website, you can find out hospitals you can find out the percent of deliveries that end in C-section by hospital. So you can go on the state website, and that's important information because there's great variation by hospital in the percent of C-sections, and many hospitals have much lower rates. So that, and I think an important question to ask your provider if you're pregnant and have had a previous C-section is, what is your position on vaginal births after cesarean? Because there's a wide range of opinion from providers, and it's really identifying a provider, and it can be an OB/GYN, it could be a midwife, who is supportive of having a vaginal birth if it's safe to have one. Some cases, even with the desire, it's not safe. But where it is safe, you want to make sure you're going to a provider and going to a hospital that is supportive of that practice.
And is that kind of interviewing possible for somebody who's going to a Planned Parenthood or who's getting services through Medicaid?
Yeah, absolutely. You can, as I mentioned before, our prenatal program, you can, whether it's your first pregnancy, your third, your fourth, your fifth, you can come to Planned Parenthood, and our OB/GYN program is top notch. I think that quite frankly, all of our physicians are the best. They are the most compassionate. They have seen almost everything. And you can go and approach them with any question, just as you would your regular OB/GYN, just like you would your regular prenatal doctor. They'll review everything. They'll go through it just like, in any of the New York State health clinics.
I think one thing that's an important point to make is that, I just lost my train of thought.
Well,
but
we actually have to wrap up, but I want to quickly ask one question.
Okay.
Do either of you see a time when access to abortion will not be available in New York State?
So I'll take a second here to quickly pitch the fact that we have two bills right now that are working their way through the New York State Senate, and New York has always been a leader in women's reproductive health care. The fact that they legalized abortion in 1970, 3 years before Roe v. Wade, is huge. But right now we're working on the Reproductive Health Act, which is going to ensure that women have access to abortion care no matter what. And that's something that we need everyone to really pitch in on, because it's sitting in the New York State Senate right now, and it's not moving.
We actually have to wrap up. We don't have any more time to air. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much
we
for
may
this
have to do this
opportunity.
discussion again.
Part two. I think we need a part two.
I think that's right.
There's always something.
And we thank you for joining us. Please stay tuned for more community stories and the answer to the trivia question.
This week in sports, the Mamaroneck girls lacrosse team is already comfortably ahead of Rye when Madeline Riordan stole away a ground ball and found her twin sister Nora right in front of the goal in this week's LMC Varsity Sports Play of the Week.
Works and just too high for Riordan, but she steals it right from the defender there. And nice pass. Riordan, her third assist as she passed it to Nora Riordan, her twin sister. So Riordan to Riordan, and the twins hook up for a goal.
And don't forget, time is running out to vote for the 2017 Varsity Sports Play of the Year. Log on to lmttv.org/sports to cast your vote. The voting is open through Sunday, May 14th.
Boutique in Larchmont is in the spotlight, showcasing its exclusive makeup products for prom season. Our very own Alexandria Garcia had the pleasure of covering Boutique, so here's the scoop.
Are you looking to be pampered for prom? With prom season in high gear, being camera ready is a must. At Boutique in Larchmont, you'll have many options when choosing the right color eyeshadow or foundation for prom. Owner Kristen Colarsudo spoke about the exclusive products only at Boutique.
What type of products that you do have available? Because I know some of the products are, you said, exclusive.
Yeah.
It's unique.
We have Vincent Longo, we have Eve Pearl, we have Senna, and we have our own brand as well as Krylon. All our products are HD quality, so they're excellent for film and photography, and they're really going to give you your 16-hour long wear, and they're going to look beautiful no matter what.
Before getting my makeup done, Kristen stressed the importance of various makeup styles and that every look is individualized.
Just create a really beautiful, clean spring look in the inner corner. Skin looks dewy and fresh.
With a fresh look, you can't forget to touch up your lip, leading to a sleek, clean, and effortless look.
What is the process of signing up if you would want to do your makeup here?
We have a few slots left, so come and call us quickly. But yes, prom does get very booked very quickly. It's one of our most popular services during the time of the year, and it's a great way for us to get out there and really help the community by offering the prom services at a really affordable price.
If you are interested in doing your makeup for prom this year, don't forget to stop by Boutique located on Palmer Avenue in Larchmont. If you're also interested in contacting them, do not forget to send them an email at info@boutiquebeauty.com or simply visit their website at boutiquebeauty.com. You can also call them at 914-341-1444. Reporting for the Local Live, I'm Alexandria Garcia.
Welcome to the Local Live. Randy Spatz, a volunteer with Relay for Life in Mamaroneck, and Caitlin Chico, you're a staff member of the American Cancer Society. You're a partner in the Relay for Life in Mamaroneck. This is the second year that it's going to happen. Randy, can you tell us what is it, why is it?
So what is it, why is it?
Really? And when is it?
Okay, when is it? More importantly, when is it? May 20th. So less than 2 weeks from today, May 20th, starting at 3 p.m. at Harbor Island Park, is Relay for Life. Actually, registration begins at 2. The event will kick off about 3 o'clock. And Relay for Life, it's an amazing event for anybody that has not been there. You hear the saying a lot, it takes a village. And when someone has that cancer diagnosis, it takes a village of support, doctors, love, and just that ability to wake up every morning and get that fight in you. And I believe that Relay for Life really takes that and symbolizes it. It is a way to get the community wrapped around each other and together, and it is a time where for a 12-hour period or so this time around, a 12-hour period, we celebrate our survivors. We remember the ones that we unfortunately lost along the way, and we really fight back to raise money, raise awareness, and let cancer know that, hey, you know what? We may get cancer, but cancer does not have us.
Cancer is a word, not a sentence, is what I read on your website. You raised $50,000 last year?
Yes.
And that's your goal this year?
Yes, and I think we'll surpass it.
And so far, you're at what?
A little over 17,000.
And there's still time to donate and get involved?
Plenty of time. You can come on day of.
Caitlin, can you tell the audience what's going to happen at 3 o'clock at Harbor Island Park?
Of course. So at Harbor Island Park on May 20th, starting at 3 p.m., we will have a bounce house for all of the kids. This year our theme is a carnival themed, so we'll have carnival games. The bounce house is actually donated, and it's a carousel bounce house actually, which is really cool. We'll have food from different vendors and
music, huh?
Music from School of Rock right here in Mamaroneck. So we're very lucky those talented kids and adults will be performing live for all of us and also DJing this year for the first time.
And then around 6, about dinner time, there is a Survivors, the Cancer Survivors, which is a cheer on. I mean, we're not just talking about a lot of sad stories.
No, and in fact, this survivor lap, which he's speaking of, is, I get chills just thinking about it. It is one of the most inspiring things that you will ever see. Our survivors come to join us. A survivor is someone that's diagnosed with cancer, and from that point on, we consider them a survivor as the American Cancer Society. They wear purple shirts that designate them as survivors, and they come out and they walk the track for our first lap, cheered on by all of our participants. So everybody spreads out and rah-rah.
And one of the most touching events is the luminarias. As the sun goes down and it gets dark, you light these luminarias, and each one is in remembrance of?
Yes, and that is quite the opposite. It's more of a somber ceremony where we're reflecting on those that we've lost to this disease. So our bags then feature either a photo of a loved one that's passed or just words of encouragement, a message, a song lyric that's important, and those are dedicated for $10 each, and it's part of our fundraising efforts.
And the walking goes through the night.
Sure does.
And at 7 in the morning, a closing ceremony.
We have our closing ceremony. We celebrate the fun that we had. We celebrate our survivors again. We take a moment to reflect on how far we've come. And then we walk our final lap and go home to a nice, comfortable, warm bed.
So you have 21 teams registered so far, right, Randy?
Yes.
And if I read correctly, the top team, as far as donations that are coming in under its name, Daydream Believers.
Yes.
With almost $5,000.
And I can happily say that's my team.
All right. And then Sweet Life, the Sweet Life with almost $4,000, and then Push Fitness with $2,000.
Yes.
And many more.
Many more. We have many more, yes. And the donations will keep going, and they go even further than the event. So if someone doesn't have time to donate by May 20th, May 20th is not a drop date. There's time to collect after.
So you have the ability to donate online and register online, but that deadline is coming up. Right, that's May 19th?
Yes, so you can register online up until May 19th. And from there, you are not just shut out. We'd love to still see you can come down and register at the field at Harbor Island Park. But we also close the dedications of Luminaria bags also on May 19th at 12 o'clock.
So if you come the day of, you can still be involved, you can still donate, but you cannot do a Luminaria. On the day of.
You could still buy a Luminaria bag the day of at Harbor Island Park.
Okay, so there's really no limit.
Sky's
Convenience online, but show up on the day of and get involved and march. Is it a march? Is it a run?
It's walking. It's walking.
Just walking.
It's walking. The goal is during the night and during the entire time, someone from your team is always walking.
There's been a lot of attention paid to cancer research. What progress has been made in all these years?
Oh, so much progress has been made. I think depending on the cancer is really a big part of it. Some cancers like leukemia, lymphoma that are easier, or they've been just studied for so much longer. Advancements have been made in the sense of 90% cure rates. For other cancers that are more of the rare cancers, they're a lot harder to find the research or work the research because of the late diagnosis. But in general, overall, I think if you were to talk about cancer research, we have a lot more survivors, a lot more birthdays, and a lot more chemotherapy treatments between different individualized immunotherapies, different types of therapy. We've come a long way.
So the relay is to raise additional funds for research, but also to raise awareness. There are volunteer opportunities, are there not?
There are plenty of volunteer opportunities, and just to touch on prior to, the money doesn't just go to cancer research. It's wonderful that part of it does, but it also goes to our advocacy efforts, educating people in the community about ways to lower their cancer risks, and also our programs and services, which allow people who are going through their cancer diagnosis, their caregivers, to take advantage of programs such as free rides to and from treatment, our wig program, Look Good, Feel Better, which allows women to come in and meet with a licensed cosmetologist and get a makeover. Your skin changes as you're going through treatment, and your hair. So we have plenty of free programs and opportunities for people to benefit from the money that we raise at the American Cancer Society. Along those lines, we do have plenty of volunteer opportunities with the American Cancer Society, not just at Relay for Life, but we do on May 20th. If you are interested in coming down, we will gladly have you at a table or greeting our survivors.
So we've been showing phone numbers. Let's give them out verbally. For people who want information about Mamaroneck, where do they call?
They call me, Kate
Sure.
Chico, at 914-397-8842.
And I think you have email as well.
I do. It's caitlin.chico@cancer.org.
And we know about how to spell Chico because it's on the screen.
Yes, I hope so, but if not, it's CHIECO.
Okay, and Randy, as a volunteer, do you want to give one more shout out to people?
Come, see what it's all about. You will not be sorry that you did. If you cannot stay all night, that is fine. Stay for an hour, stay all night, stay as long as you can. Bring the family, bring your friends. You will be happy that you did.
Relay for Life, what a great cause. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Caitlin. Stay tuned for more of The Local Live.
Welcome back to The Local Live. I'm Kyode, and guys, we got renewed for a second show.
Woohoo!
Yes.
Anywho, I'm Kate Howard, and this is Scriptly Live, where we tell you what's hot on the big screen and what's trending on your TV and more.
Well, guys, listen, this weekend opens a huge movie called Snatched, starring comedian Amy Schumer, Hollywood royalty Goldie Hawn, who's back in her first film after years of being out of Hollywood. The film is about a typical awful breakup. To erase her pain, Amy decides to go on an exotic vacation paradise and to take her mother, Goldie Hawn.
You know, I don't think that's all that happens here. I think there's more to it.
Really?
Yeah.
Just paradise?
No.
Okay.
What they think will be a relaxing getaway turns into an unexpected adventure.
Oh boy.
Need an amazing adventure. Where the hell are we?
The scenic route.
Stop doing
What's your PIN number?
Everything he says. I already am before you told me to. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, God. I was gonna change it. I will get us out of here. I need you to believe in me. Mom, come on! Do you think maybe that guy's okay? I saw his brains. Why can't you just make me feel better?
Yikes, okay.
Told ya.
Looks like I was wrong about the paradise part, but hope they make it out alive. Hopefully we'll see. This Friday when the movie comes out, and it looks like another hilarious one by Amy Schumer and another classic by Goldie Hawn.
They really paired it. I mean, they couldn't have paired it better.
No, that's a good pairing.
It is. Amy Schumer.
It's a good buddy film.
If you've ever seen one of Amy Schumer's stand-ups, she kind of has the same type of like weird sense of humor and raunchy sense of humor on screen.
Oh, this is just, times 10.
It's absolutely. I can't wait to see it. It actually looks really funny. What's trending tonight, what you might be streaming on Netflix, in its third season, the popular series is Grace and Frankie, and it's captivated audiences. It's centered around two older women who, get this, whose husbands have left them for each other.
Ooh, scandal.
So I know.
Scandal.
I know, we're not talking about that tonight, though. That's next week. But the two gentlemen are played by Sam Waterston and Martin Sheen, and their wives, or ex-wives now, are played by Lily Tomlin and Jane Fonda. And the chemistry between these four actors is just palpable. Like, you feel like you're there with them. You feel like they're your parents or your grandparents. You witness a budding friendship between the two characters. And honestly, they're two of the most highly decorated actresses in Hollywood.
Well, four.
I know, the women primarily, but yes, the men character.
It's a great cast.
It
is.
It's
really funny. I watched a couple episodes, and I must say, it's funny. That's all I'm saying. It's funny.
Sure. I bet you guys won't be able to stop laughing. You should really check it out. It's streaming now.
Guys, well, thank you for watching another episode of Scriptly Live here with on the Local Live. So stay tuned for another show coming this month. Local Live, Scriptly Live. We're here.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Rainbow is an outgoing cat with beautiful, captivating eyes and, let's just say, an interesting color pattern. She gets along with other cats, but would do well as the only cat for a family with older children who can provide her with the stimulating environment she seeks.
Winston is a 3-year-old lab mix. This young dog gets along with small dogs and children. If you want a friend happily waiting for you to come home with loving eyes and an eager wagging tail, this adorable pup will be the one for you. For more information on Rainbow or Winston, or to adopt more adorable pets, please visit ny-petrescue.org.
And remember, to help keep us on the air, make an online donation. Go to www.lmctv.org and click on the donate button in the upper right-hand corner. We would really appreciate the help.
We always welcome new volunteers and interns, and we'd love to hear from you. Send an email to the local live at lmctv.org and join our crew. Thank you so much for watching our show. That's all for tonight. I'm Alexandria Garcia.
And I'm Rob Baez. We'll see you next week for another episode of The Local Live.